Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Psych 300 wrap-up lesson. As you are probably well aware, today is our last class, so this is the last content for the semester. So I want to first start with thanking you for all the tremendous work you've done this semester. You've put up with lots of different Google-based technologies, lots of quizzes, essays, and other documents that you worked on, and maybe even some little existential crises about your future. You've done all this just for 3 units, so give yourself a pat on the back. What I'm going to talk about in this lesson is a few reminders for the end of the term. We're going to talk a little bit about failure and why failure is important. And then I've got some closing remarks. And I want to remind you to complete an iLearn reflection about this lecture, which is going to be worth 15 extra credit points. And that is designed to help you make up for a missed participation day. You missed a class earlier this semester that had participation points. Just a quick reminder about your research credits. So assignment 10 is worth 50 points. It needs to be wrapped up this week by this Friday, the 14th. It's the last opportunity you have to earn credits on SONA. Remember, if you're going to do the SONA research participant route, you are supposed to earn 2 credit hours in SONA worth 50 points. And if you do extra hours or points, those are going to be worth extra credit as well. Remember, you have a second option, the alternative writing assignment, and that if you want to do that, you're going to focus on a capstone proposal document. And if you want extra credit on that option, you can add APA-cited reference sources like journal articles for extra credit there. So remember, this is all laid out at the top of our iLearn page. And just remember, this is due by the end of this week on Friday. Another reminder is that we have official and unofficial course evaluations. Official is the university evaluations. That's an electronic link. The unofficial are a Google form that I created more specific to our class. For the official ones, those are anonymous, and the credits that you could earn, extra credit for that, is going to be based on how much of our class completes them. So if 90% of the class completes them, you'll get 9 extra credit points, for example. The unofficial version is worth 10 points if you do it, and that is not anonymous. It's linked to your name, so if you do it, you'll get 10 points. And of course, I really truly mean it when I say I read all of the information. I'm very interested in your feedback, your suggestions, how we can make this class better. So please be specific and let me know what you think. All right, so let's talk a little bit about success. We're going to kind of end the semester with some big picture ideas moving forward. When we think about what is required for success, I think it's really important for us to remember that life does not really go as planned. We have this idea that success is start at point A and end at point B. You have this nice smooth transition between them, and really that's not life. In reality, plans change, we have to adapt, we have to be creative, we have to come up with plan B opportunities, thinking outside the box. What do we do when we run into a problem and we have to come up with a creative solution? And despite all of that, getting to a goal eventually, that's really a better or more accurate way to think about success. Here's a nice quote from Nelson Mandela: "Don't judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." So I want to emphasize this idea of success being tied to resilience and grit, and being able to say, hey, life is not always smooth and going to go exactly as I plan. Most importantly, it's really thinking about that idea of continuing to try and continuing to move forward when we hit those obstacles. One thing that I think is really cool is the idea of a curriculum vitae of failures. So I want you to click on the link of this CV of failures by Professor Johannes Hall. I can't pronounce his name very well, Haushofer. And I think this is a really cool idea in that it's important for us to document all the times that we tried for something but didn't get it. So it's just this idea of, hey, I tried for this, I wasn't accepted, I tried for that, didn't happen. And just as a reminder that very successful people have many, many, many times where they are not successful. But they are such successful people because they try so many times that sometimes it does stick and sometimes they do get to those goals they want. And so I think it's a good reminder for all of us that in order to be successful, we have to try and be comfortable with the fact that many of those times failure is really part of that process. The original idea is linked at the bottom left, but I think it's a really nice example if you look at this example CV of failures. And in fact, what I'd love for you to do is to take a few minutes and pause the video and click on this hyperlink for activity 16.2.1, which is going to take you to a Google document. You can save yourself a copy of the document, or you can copy things. You can just hit copy all and paste it into whatever document you want. But I want you to spend a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. It's okay to pause this video and take some time to give yourself a chance to write down what comes to mind for you, for your CV of failures. Okay, so pause the video, check out the document, save yourself a copy, and spend 5 or 10 minutes filling out your CV of failures. And then the second page is more of a little reflection page about what that activity was like. All right, see you in 5 or 10 minutes. All right, so hopefully by this point you've gotten a chance to do that CV of failures activity. And now I'm going to transition a little bit to my top 10 final thoughts for the semester. So really I want to wrap up with a few big picture thoughts for everybody to help you leave on a good, strong footing as you move forward after Psych 300. All right, number 10, little things add up and get us in trouble. The hyperlink here will take you to a document that talks about the most common reasons why college graduates are fired from jobs or disciplined from jobs, disciplined at their jobs straight out of college. So top reasons why people get fired. Things like unethical behavior, demonstrating limited work ethic, inappropriate use of technology. So thinking about how often we use our phones when we're not supposed to be doing our work. Maybe Googling things on the computer when there's a clear policy at work that we're not supposed to be using work computers for other things. Not following instructions, being late for work, and missing deadlines. Some of the top reasons why people are disciplined also include not working well in teams, not taking initiative, excuse me, and having poor verbal and written communication skills. So I'd really like us to just think about this list of things and think about how can I, as I step foot in the workplace, really be conscientious about doing really well in these areas. And if any of them feel like places where maybe historically you haven't had a lot of strengths, think about how you can hone in on those things and prioritize them a little bit more. Good news is, of course, we can overcome our mistakes. So it's not uncommon, it's quite common for people to mess something up at work. And it's not bad to really think about how can I get over that? It's okay to feel bad about it if you mess up at work, but only feel bad for a little bit of time. There's no reason to really perseverate on it for a really long time. Keep it in perspective, think about how do I let this go? Importantly, it's good to apologize soon after the issue, but briefly, so not overdoing it. And very importantly is really thinking about how do I plan better for next time? What's my strategy going to be the next time that I might find myself in a similar situation? Additionally, thinking about self-care and how maybe sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, not enough exercise could get in the way of being really effective at work. Finally, importantly here, your employers are going to trust you not because of what you say you're going to do, but really because of your actions and how you prove yourself over time, over and over. So really think about, yes, we all have little blips that happen, but it's that consistency of positive actions that is really going to make a good impression in the long run. And it's also important to think about resiliency, not just overall as a person, but work-based resiliency in particular. If we can come up with strategies that make us resilient at work, it's going to help manage setbacks when we encounter setbacks, whether it's us screwing something up or something unpredicted happening at work. Being more resilient at work is going to help when those days are really hard. One thing to do here is to really think about high quality relationships with your coworkers. How can you facilitate having some really strong relationships with people that you're working with? So nurture those relationships and those friendships with your colleagues. Really think about, how are my stress management skills? Am I pretty good at managing high stress days? If not, there are effective techniques for practicing stress management, as well as grit and perseverance. It's also important, as much as possible, be authentic, be your true self at work, because if you have to kind of mask who you really feel like you are to put on a front at work, that's just one more layer of challenge that makes it hard to be genuine and effective at work. Doing work that really inspires you, of course, is going to make it much more meaningful and helpful. So if you're in a job where you're just paying the bills, really think about, what's my next job going to look like? And as we've talked about all semester, how am I going to be really competitive for that new job that I really want, that's going to be really inspiring to me? And then finally, thinking about when you do react to something difficult at work, check how accurate your reactions are. Sometimes we misinterpret things, sometimes we over kind of exaggerate some problem, and really think about, was this really a big deal? Am I overreacting? Did I misinterpret something? And think about the accuracy of your reactions. All right, so let's talk a little bit about confidence. I'm going to talk a little bit about gendered information here. There's some research on men and women with confidence. But before I start doing that, I just want to temper it with, I think this is useful information for everyone in our class, regardless of gender, and really think about yourself and your confidence at work and what that might mean for your success in the long run, and if there's anything you might want to change about it. Okay, so I just want to start with that. So one thing for us to think about is some of the research on confidence and what that impacts with people at work. So research shows that men are a little bit less likely than women to doubt themselves at work, but they aren't as likely to let their doubts stop them from doing creative things at work. There's a difference, an important difference between confidence and competence, right? So confidence is, I think that I am doing this well. I feel that the choices I'm making are really good and strong, and I can go forward and be really solid in what I'm doing. That's different than competence, which is the actual accuracy of our performance and the decision-making that we're doing. Women are a bit more likely than men to blame themselves rather than to blame situational factors when things go wrong. And so again, they're a little lower on that confidence as compared to men. There is an important distinction when we think about salaries and promotions. On average, men believe that they deserve more money as compared to women. Not like I think I deserve more money than you, but this idea of how much money do you really deserve for the work you're doing? Men are likely to say a higher number than women are. Men are more likely to ask for more money. And because of that, they're more likely to be awarded more money at work, either when they're getting hired or later on if they're asking for raises. Also, men are more likely to apply for jobs that they don't meet all of the qualifications for. When you think about that job listing, if a man is, on average, sees that job listing and is maybe qualified for maybe half the description, they're a little more likely to apply for that job as compared to a woman who a little more likely to not apply to it unless she really meets all those criteria. And so again, there's a little bit of that gender difference in terms of access to jobs, because maybe that man is a little more likely to get hired for that job even though he didn't meet all those qualifications. And again, let's think about this not just like this is only applicable to the women who are listening, but also to just think about, where do you sit personally on your confidence? Would you be likely to apply for a job where you didn't quite meet all the qualifications, but you were really interested in the job? Would you be likely to ask for a high dollar value when you're negotiating for a job? So this idea of like, where is your confidence really sitting in? Is there anything you might want to do about that in practice before you end up in the next hiring situation? Also, the more confident someone is, the more they portray it in their nonverbal behaviors as well as their verbal behavior. And so they really do things that make them look confident in the eyes of other people. So people who are confident appear more competent to other people. It's just important for us to consider how we portray ourselves in the workforce. All right, so maybe you're not necessarily the most naturally super confident person at work. How can we boost our work confidence? First up, reducing our negative self-talk. So if we screw something up, how long do we really spend talking about it or thinking about it or worrying about it? The more we can reduce that, the better. Increasing our knowledge. One way to feel more confident at work is to become more competent in our training, in our knowledge base, and to really feel solid in the work we're doing. Anytime that you are doing a task or a project, you can always reflect on how it could be stronger next time around, so that when you do have that next time, you've already been thinking about ways to improve it. You can also importantly focus on your strengths. So yes, we're not perfect at everything, but we all have strengths that we bring to work. And do we spend enough time really thinking about and praising ourselves for the strengths that we have, and to even improve upon the strengths of things that we already do really well? And then finally, of course, learning new skills is important as well, as we can think about that training that's going to make us even more competent. It's also important for us to not overstate our qualifications. For example, this gentleman in the middle of a hurricane was trying to be helpful to let folks know that he could engage in American Sign Language and help the newscasters get the message out to the deaf community about the hurricane. Unfortunately, he wasn't fluent, and he accidentally said words like pizza and bear monster instead of relaying the actual news, which just caused a lot of confusion. So as a reminder, we don't want to overstate our qualifications either. So we got to be confident in the things we're good at and really realistic about where we stand. Now, another lesson here is number 5. Conscientiousness predicts success. As you remember, conscientiousness is one of the personality characteristics that has to do with being really organized, responsible, planning ahead. People who are conscientious tend to work really hard when challenges arise, and they're pretty good at controlling impulses. When they get frustrated with something, they tend to keep their cool. As a reminder of this big 5 of our kind of major personality characteristics, conscientiousness is one of them. And again, we're seeing people who are high on that tend to be pretty organized. And this is associated with positive outcomes at work. Now, conscientiousness is not the only important personality characteristic. For example, extroversion is really great for people who have highly social jobs like sales folks. Being open to experience is really great for creative jobs. But the cool thing about conscientiousness is that it tends to be a useful characteristic that is predictive of success at work across a wide variety of types of work. Now you might be thinking, well, I'm not particularly conscientious. When we took that questionnaire earlier this semester, I was kind of low in conscientiousness. What should I do? The good news is conscientiousness can be practiced even if it doesn't feel like it's something that comes really naturally to you. So some advice here, slowing down. Sometimes we tend to rush through things, and so we miss the details, we miss the important things, and we screw things up. So going at a little bit slower pace, making sure that you're doing things correctly is important. Finding a way to get organized. We're all different in terms of what organization works well for us. One example is Google Calendar, but certainly paper planners or to-do lists or other strategies that feel like they work well for you, coming up with a system to keep yourselves organized so things don't fall through the cracks. Thinking about what kinds of things distract us at work. Do you have a particularly distracting workplace? Are you distracted by the internet or your phone or colleagues who are talking to you a lot? How can you have control over your workplace that will help you stay more focused and less distracted? And another important thing is to really think about not just what's my day feeling like and what are my thoughts about my work day, but how am I being perceived by other people, by my boss, by my coworkers? How are they seeing how I am as an employee or a colleague at work? And what can I do to make that a strong, positive perception? And finally, similar to what we talked about before, really getting the support you need, whether that's mentorship or strong colleagues, and also dealing with maybe low confidence at work by tackling your fear of failure, as we talked about earlier. All right, number 3, especially at the end of the semester, it's always good for us to have positive pep talks. This is one of my favorite pep talks, and so I want to share it with you. I think it has some really wonderful positive messages about moving forward. So why don't we take a moment and click on this hyperlink and hear a little pep talk from KID President for a few minutes. All right, got our pep talk. We're on to number 2. Remember at the beginning of the semester, we talked about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you have all done such tremendous hard work reflecting on your future, reflecting on where you are now and the things you want to do. So congratulations, you've reached the water. So number 1, please enjoy your journey, do wonderful things, make a wonderful difference in the world. I'm super excited to watch as you enjoy your dreams. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you around. Please feel free to email me. Let me know if you have questions. Happy to chat with you as you move through the rest of your CSUMB career and beyond. And as just a final reminder, don't forget to do your reflection after this lecture. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.